look at our nation. And a lovely Thursday night, everybody. Chris McDonald with you. D-Day night, 6/6/24. And it is good to see everybody in the house tonight. It is good to see this old bald-headed dude again. Been a while since we've had him on screen. We've been trying to squelch all these rumors about him shining that light in that old lady's house up there, and we had to go into witness protection over that. So we got all that square. We got all that nonsense, all those rumors on the internet straightened out about him. So he's back with us tonight, the one and only Eric Caron. He said he liked my hat, and I said, I like yours too. And I said, oops, that's not your hat. Oops, that's your head, isn't it? So anyway, it's good to see you, buddy. How are you? It's been always a pleasure with you. We always have a good time, and it's good to see you tonight.
It's great to see you, Mr. McDonald. I was just in Washington over the weekend, and it was a reminder to myself how blessed we are to live in this nation. And I had a chance to walk by the Vietnam Memorial and all the other memorials, and I'm there, and I've passed those memorials probably over 1,000 times because I was there for 5 years. And it's always a touching experience, Chris, as you know, when you see the names of 55,000 men and women on that wall.
It does.
And so, going back to Washington was special in light of, today, and 80 years ago today, men and women sacrificed their lives for our freedom. So
they did.
To them.
Absolutely. But thank you to them. We had a special on it this afternoon. And I want to say this to our audience. Glennie said they shut their cell service down tonight over there in Normandy right at the time we were trying to get her on. She's coming on tomorrow night, the Lord willing. And she was very sad she couldn't be with me tonight. But Glennie Sims is a friend of mine. She runs a project that honors these D-Day vets every year. She's gone to Normandy every single year. We had her on for the first time in 2019 at the 75th anniversary. Of course, we were sort of young then, and we didn't know what we were doing. I remember that night we had all sorts of technical issues. It was crazy. So we'll have a better platform for her to come on and talk about number 80. I want to ask you about the D-Day thing, and then we'll get into what we got you on tonight for. And I just want to tell you, but it's funny, it hit me just now. We've known each other about 5 years now. I met you for the first time in 2019 at CPAC, and we've just stayed friends. And it's with this show, we've been going 7 years, and there's been some guests that we've had that have stayed in touch with us, and we usually have them on regularly, and it's just been a friendship that has developed. Others have not. But I'm grateful mine and yours was one of those that did, because I've always respected you and appreciated you, and we've always gotten along. We've had some good laughs, and it's good to have you tonight. I really mean that, and I appreciate your service. But, Eric, these veterans deserve better than what they got today from our president over there. It was embarrassing to watch him. And then when he got up and spoke, he didn't even really honor the vets. Macron did more of that as the French president than he did. And I got no love lost for Emmanuel Macron, but I have to respect him tonight and give a tip of the hat to him that he showed our vets more respect. Joe Biden gets up there and his dumb blank, and that's 3 blanks you can fill in with any words you want to out there tonight. I'll give you 3 choices, and the first 2 don't count. But this dumb blank stuff that he talked about was freaking Russia and Ukraine. He was sitting there attacking Putin today on the D-Day celebration like this is the grand fight of all fights, and we have got to throw all of our trillions of dollars into the Ukraine war. Eric, this generation does not understand the sacrifice that was made 80 years ago tonight. We don't. But what is scaring the hell out of me is we got a government that don't know and don't understand it and don't respect it. And it burns me to my backside red.
Well, yeah, I agree. Anyone with ears to hear and eyes to see, Chris, understand that Joe Biden is not operating on all 4 cylinders. And today was a perfect example. Today was a perfect example, Chris. I mean, his wife had to tell him, "Do not sit."
Exactly.
Jeff. You saw that she was like this, like trying to.
I know.
Coach him because he was like trying to find the chair, and she was like, "No, this is not time to sit, Joe." And it's an embarrassment. And you're right. She and him walked off stage right. And the president of France was left behind shaking hands.
I know. It's great. Absolutely. And that was bad enough. And there were some of the pundits on the right that was thinking that he may have had an accident number 2 and I don't mean this to be funny, but there was some idea looked like he was bowled over, like he was having a moment of number 2 there on the stage, which I'm not going to go there. But it was just the fact that, Eric, I don't know what part of this that the left of this country and those that still, I don't care how much your hatred for Donald Trump rages red tonight that's listening, some of these people out there listening, I care less. You cannot tell me, and I got relatives that hate Trump. I do. I got people that I try to convince every day that Trump's not the Antichrist and the devil. And they just hate him. And they cannot look me in the eye, and neither can any of these Trump haters tonight, and tell me that this is the country they signed up for when they betrayed Trump in 2020 and voted for Joe Biden. I don't, there's no way, and you know where, that they can tell me this is the America and this is the other thing. He is our representative on the world stage. Do you not think that the other leaders over there was mocking us today and mocking him when he goes out in these international platforms. And they sit back, and I do not believe for a second this thing that I heard yesterday, that all these leaders, he put this lie out yesterday, that all of these leaders are coming to me and telling me, you can't let Trump win, you can't let Trump win, you can't let Trump win. Even if it's a third of the part true, it's only coming from our enemies that don't want to see Trump bring America back to where we're not being run over like a tow truck by a senile, basically nursing home attendant that's sitting at 1600 running the show. Am I right?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the only thing. What he has to run on right now, Chris, is fear. Fear is the only thing the Democrat Party has to run on. Fear of Donald Trump, fear of Russia, fear of whatever else they can throw at us. So that's what's happening is that the Democrat Party, the White House, is saying, if you elect Donald Trump, he's going to send America into a civil war. He's going to get us into World War III. Everything that the Democrat Party has done, they're trying to shift onto Trump, right? I mean, our country's more divided now than it probably was before the Civil War.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that's the Democrat Party for the last 3.5 years that's doing it. The Democrat Party has nearly got us into World War III. We have 2 wars going on, one in the Middle East, one in Ukraine. They put us into that war, not Donald Trump. So, Chris, if I may, that's why I wrote the article. And I thank law enforcement today for having the courage to run it, because I can tell you another magazine didn't want to run it and did not run it.
Let me give you a sort of a heads in. I want to introduce this article because you did write an article that it's time to outlaw the Democrat Party, and you've gotten some flack over it. And again, I know that it's not been something that people like to hear. But Eric, I'm with you. I think, look, this party. Let's go back to D-Day a minute, and I'm going to let you talk about your article.
Yeah.
We shed blood on D-Day 80 years ago tonight. 80 years ago today.
Absolutely.
Thousands of young men went to their death on the beaches of Normandy, France, to stop fascism, to stop tyranny, to stop Nazism, to stop socialism. And at the time, I think Churchill understood the threat of communism that was around the corner. But at that moment in time, even the communists, they were fighting the communists. The communists were fighting with us, of all things. And we turned our attention to them next. But in this moment, 80 years ago tonight, we fought for blood. And we have given this country back over, Eric, to the very people that we shed blood over to free and liberate France and Europe 80 years ago tonight, because we got a bunch of Nazi fascist communists running the country. And you know where it's coming from? I'm not giving the Republicans a pass. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they just ain't blanking insane like this Democrat Party. The Republicans may not be perfect, but they ain't insane as the Democrats. Tell us about your article.
Right. Well, you're right, Chris. And officially, Chris, I can share with you, and I probably have in the past, that I'm a registered independent myself. So I get it. I get the fact that there are problems with both parties. But what we've seen over the course of the last 3.5+ years, and it started with your buddy Barack Obama.
He ain't my buddy, but go ahead. I got a few words for him, but it ain't buddy. I can tell you that. Go ahead.
Joe Biden, and I said this, as soon as Joe Biden became president, I said, we will have Barack Obama 2.0. Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
Barack Obama 2.0, and I hate to say I was right, but I was kind of right, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
So since January 20th, 2021, under the leadership of Joe Biden, the Democrat Party's been masquerading as one of our two major political parties in the U.S. This is what I say, and this party's been terrorizing America these last several years, destroying our freedoms, killing thousands of Americans, and you know. So how? Let me just read this, Chris.
Go ahead.
The Federal Bureau of Investigations, RFBI, defines terrorism as the unlawful use of force and violence against persons or property to intimidate or coerce a government, the civilian population, or any segment thereof, in furtherance of political or social objectives. Kind of sounds like the Democrat Party to me. They've been terrorizing America these last 3.5 years. Every day, people are dying because of open borders, because of the disease that comes in, because of the drugs that come in. Our schools are failing. Our Department of Injustice they're arresting people targeting their First Amendment rights.
Go ahead.
So that's why I wrote this article. And I can tell you that another magazine said, gee, Eric, I like the story. And it's up on my website, switchedonlife.com. Is it time to outlaw the Democrat Party? Eric, I like the story, but we have some members who are registered Democrats. And, you know, we don't want to offend our members. That was pretty much a quote from the editor of this other magazine. But Law Enforcement Today magazine had the courage to run it.
Good for them.
And I think that the article, you know, we forget, Chris, God, we forget that the U.S. government is under Joe Biden, supporting the Taliban.
They're supporting Hamas, Eric. It ain't just the Taliban, brother. They're giving Hamas a carte blank check to do what they want to do in Europe, and Hezbollah and all of them.
In Iran.
And Iran. And absolutely. And Iran.
So I can tell you this, and I got this is a recent, so we have about Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Afghanistan. Their forces are building. There's over 20,000, Chris, right now, between ISIS and Al-Qaeda, growing in Afghanistan. And foolishly, the Biden State Department objective is to, this is a quote, to build functional relationships with the Taliban to advance U.S. objectives. This is from a report that I read, that anybody can see it, but it's in my article. It's from the SIGAR, Special Inspector General for Afghan Reconstruction, in a recent report. And we're giving the Taliban approximately $80 million in cash a week. A week! 80 million cash a week to prop them up in their government that we're supporting. There are dozens of terror groups, besides ISIS and Al-Qaeda, in Afghanistan right now, Chris. There are dozens of other terror groups in Afghanistan. I'm telling you right now, again, you know, as they say, the chicken's going to come home to roost someday, and it ain't going to be pretty.
But let me put that in perspective, Eric. It's the same Taliban that did we not go into Afghanistan for nearly 20 years and spend over $1 trillion trying to fix that country and bring George Bush democracy to it and to outroot it. And Joe Biden gets in there 2 years in and basically leaves our servicemen to die, basically leaves the equipment to die, and leave everything else in a piss-poor place to where the Taliban had an open carte blanche door to go in and reestablish this stronghold of terrorism after we shed, again, innocent blood. Correct?
Yes. Correct. And there's at least one American today held hostage since August of 2022. His name is Ryan Corbett. Corbett. Ryan. Now, Ryan's been in prison, tortured, for the last several years by the Taliban. We left Ryan behind. His wife is shocked that the U.S. government is doing very little to get Ryan home. And we're giving the Taliban every week millions of dollars. And this American is still held hostage, being tortured tonight. Tonight. He called home. He called his wife several weeks ago. And the wife said that she is very concerned because Ryan sounds very, very off, sounds very bad, sounds very depressed. And the Taliban's telling Ryan, your government's forgot about you, Ryan. He's going crazy. They're making him listening to torture tapes and watching torture tapes. Ryan Colbert, an American, is held tonight in Afghanistan, and we're supporting the Taliban with money. So anybody can go online and look at Ryan's story, but Ryan Colbert, Corbett, is held in the Taliban by the Taliban tonight.
Are we making any effort to get him out?
Ask the U.S. State Department.
How many more Brian Colberts are over there, Eric?
That's the question. I'm sure there are many, and we've left behind a lot of Afghan friends that were fighting with us, and many of those friends are dead because of how we exited that country. I mean, we're in a world of hurt tonight, Chris. I mean, the Taliban again is working hand in glove with ISIS and Al Qaeda and the dozens of other terror groups in Afghanistan, and they're building a coalition amongst themselves with other nations like the UAE. The Taliban leaders this week flew to Abu Dhabi and met with one of the leaders of the United Arab Emirates. They're flying around the world shaking hands, building coalitions with like-minded countries
that hate us, that basically hate us.
Basically, I mean, and we're and so.
So what you're telling me tonight is, as we honor D-Day today, which is again a day that basically when the Allies entered this war, the war was basically over for the Germans. The stronghold of Nazism, fascism was broken. It took them about 9 months, 10 months to get into Germany. But within a year, May the 8th of 1945, Germany had surrendered. Hitler had killed himself in late April. But yet, on this night that we're honoring the nation from being free of those threats, at least at that time of history, we are embracing the same people, Eric, that would do us 10 times worse than anything Adolf Hitler would have done. And I see, this is the scary thing to me. That enemy that you're referring to tonight is not without, my friend. It is within. Because these forces in our government are, if they're supporting it with their money, and I don't doubt they are, I don't doubt there's many Ryan Colberts over there. I don't doubt that we're supplying arms and backroom deals. Look, I heard a report tonight, CNN, which it don't surprise me. Basically, their commentators are basically insinuating they believe Hamas's tales of what's going on in Gaza and Rafah tonight, and they do not believe what Israel's saying. They're calling Israel a liar, as our government's doing. And it brings me to my next question to you, because I know your article is Outlaw the Democrat Party. I would submit to you that the way that we outlaw the Democrat Party is we get off our candy banks and stop this bumper sticker patriotism and this bumper sticker faith and get out there and VOTE. Let me give you a good old-fashioned bumper sticker for everybody tonight. Vote! Vote! I was talking to a friend in California. They're coming on the show next Thursday night. Brand new friend, Lori Mills. She ran for the House out in California and almost won in L.A. of all places. Got 49% of the vote. Came within a hairbreadth of taking down a strong incumbent out there. Don't doubt that there was some shenanigans, but whatever. But she's coming on. She's excited. We tried to get her on during the campaign run. But she said this. She said that she has done a lot of research, and her race in California would have been won when she started looking at all the non-voters in the Republican side and in the conservative independent side. They just sat at home, didn't vote. And her margin was razor thin. Her margin was razor thin in losing. And Eric, I'm going to tell you something. I know we don't elect people by the popular vote, but I'm speaking this to mainly our blue state listeners tonight in Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Arizona. And I hate to say my home state of Georgia has become blue, but it went blue in 2020 for the first time since Clinton. And I'm screaming and screaming tonight. It's time we put up or shut up. If we're not going to go out and vote and do our part to outlaw the Democrat Party, then we need to shut the blank up and stop complaining about the country and stop giving our little speeches and stop putting our paragraphs in about how bad the country is and ranting and raving on Facebook and oh my God, my groceries cost me $80 for a bag and a couple of bags of drinks and stuff. I can't believe it. Well, I tell you what. If you can't believe it, get out and vote and change it and outlaw this party that is in charge tonight, correct? I'm sorry, I'm a little fired. I've been fired up this week. I must be the red shirt and the cowboy hat tonight. But this am I right?
100%, Chris. You know, can I piggyback on what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. On March 6, 2007, I was lucky enough and proud to lead hundreds of agents into a defensive contractor who was knowingly hiring illegal aliens. Hundreds, like 400.
Right.
This is in 2007. He was harboring, he was providing them false stock, getting them false documents in Massachusetts, in my home city where I grew up. And the evidence was overwhelming. We had an undercover agent go in. We followed the law. We followed the facts. And we criminally arrested him and the owner and some of his executives. And we arrested all the illegal aliens, nearly 400 of them. One of the largest mass arrests at a single place in U.S. history. Eric Caron led it.
You did?
With other agents, okay? But guess what? You're absolutely right. The Democrat Party at the local, state, and federal level kicked our butts. And you know what? Shame on them, because this nation's got what it's deserved over the last few years, because we've elected Democrat, if you will, liberal, progressive politicians who now our country is being overrun. Well, shame on us.
Shame on us.
Since 2007.
Absolutely.
Along with law enforcement, to prevent the harboring and hiring of illegal aliens. Now our schools are overrun. Our hospitals are overrun. Our police departments are overrun. People are dying. Because why? Because we've elected progressive Democrat officials who care more about their next election than my welfare and your welfare. So in 2007, Chris, the federal government, law enforcement, the executive branch, if you will, tried to stop the illegal aliens from coming into America. And we got what? I got beat up over it. All I heard was we were ripping babies away from mother's breast. The press and the politicians colluded, and I showed this in my book, Switched On, The Heart and Mind of a Special Agent. They colluded to demonize me and the men and women in law enforcement. I prove how the media work to demonize, and they work with politicians to demonize men and women in law enforcement. So at the end of the day, Chris, we get who we vote for.
I'm glad you said that. I told my brother that over the weekend. I told him that, and this week, and I said, ultimately, nations, Eric, and it's really true. And I know there's going to be people, I know a lot of people on the right I can almost hear the echo chamber already. Well, y'all know what really happened if y'all would just, I was told this recently, if you would just wake up and understand there was all this CHEATING, I can't even say the word without them yanking my channel down. If you just understand if there was all this, you wouldn't be so upset about people not voting. Well, I'm not a freaking somebody that fell off a turnip trunk on the South Georgia side of a brick road, neighbor. I know exactly what's been going on. I know what the left is up to. But Eric, I'm going to be honest with you. That is a part of it, but it's not all of it, because there are people out there that should know better that are voting for progressives and progressive policies. And I hate to say this, I'm a man of faith, but a lot of it's coming from the faith community. A lot of the faith leaders are not standing up for the country. They're not saying anything from their pulpits. They're silent. And I love what Lori Mills told me the other day. She said, Chris, silence in the face of evil is just as complicit as doing the evil yourself. And she's absolutely right. And yes, the way we speak, Eric, in this country is through that voting box. Yes. And getting involved down at our polls and getting involved in our election process. We've got people out there telling people not to vote because your vote don't count and all this is not going to matter and Jesus is coming back. And I'm not making light of Jesus coming back. I'm very aware Jesus is coming back. I'm very aware the left is going to do everything they can to throw the kitchen sink to try to steal this again and cause great difficulty in November. I'm not stupid. I understand it. And look, if they weaponized the virus the first time to do it, they'll weaponize something else. This time they're weaponizing the law against President Trump. He's basically fighting for his life with sham trials right now. And if they can't do that, they're going to do something else to him. I can't say on this program either because I get yanked. But you know and I know, we're adults in the room, and y'all know exactly what we're talking about tonight. That's their goal. Yep. And that's their freaking goal. And
that's what.
But let me one quick thing. If we vote in numbers, because Eric, I believe, and you can chime in on this, I believe this side has the numbers to win. If we all vote. You yes. have to overwhelm the system for them not to be able to get away with the steal. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. And to circle back around, I hate to say that, but to circle back around, reference D-Day, those men and women died for our ability to vote. And we haven't been doing that. And we don't want those men and women to have died in vain. That day, thousands in a single day died for our rights to vote and our freedom of speech. And under the Democrat Party, Chris, as you know, and that's why I'm saying, is it time to outlaw the Democrat Party? They've weaponized the Department of Justice, the U.S. intelligence agencies to limit speech, intimidate or coerce political opponents. I mean, Donald Trump is the perfect example of what's happened these last few years. And they're colluding with the media to...
Oh, the media's complicit, Eric?
Free speech. And look at Black Lives Matter. Our country was burning several years ago.
Two years ago. In 2022... In 2020, I should say, 4 years ago as it was, the summer. In fact, 4 years ago to this week in June and July is when the George Floyd thing hit. And Minneapolis, and not interrupt you, keep going, but all these cities went up in smoke, and Black Lives Matter was behind it, and Antifa. Go ahead.
You know, and then the Democrat Party's pushed Black Lives Matter. They're pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. They push the COVID-19 origins being from monkeys. When everybody knew it was from the lab, everybody in Fauci and everybody else knew that distancing and the mask was all a charade.
Did you see him yesterday? What was your thoughts about his crap testimony? Wasn't he a clown? I mean, he just came off as a clown.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I as you know, I was with the USG for about 6 years.
Yes.
As I've told you in the past, the CIA is all over Fauci and NIH. CIA is all over Hunter and Joe Biden. And you've already heard the defense. I mean, that, you're going to see Hunter, we can talk about Hunter Biden, but Hunter Biden's taking, hey, I'm a victim, because I was, addicted to drugs, and that's going to be my defense.
I know.
And we're going to hear it about a year from now, my son Hunter was doing Jesus' work and working for the country on behalf of the CIA.
I don't doubt it.
And I'm telling you right now, so the cracks of the story relating to COVID and the involvement of the CIA and NIH is already slowly coming out. I think I probably shared some of this with you years ago when COVID and NIH and Hunter Biden. So, that's why I'm saying the Democrat Party should be outlawed in America because it's terrorizing. It has terrorized.
Yeah. I want to say this to my audience. My little terseness tonight is not directed at you because I know most of these people that are here on this network, most of them, 99.9999999%.
Yeah.
They are voting, and they are doing the right thing, and they are switched on, and they get it. So my little rant, whatever you want to call it, is not against the group that follows me here every night because I know these people care about this country. Look, I've got some faithful listeners. They have been very, 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 very honorable people. What I'm trying to get across is the ones that are the casual passerbys that because this show gets shared out and for nefarious reasons sometimes. People try to make fun of it and mock it. So I'm just trying to make sure that if that's done, they get a freaking earful. So if they're going to share it to make fun of the McFiles, then let me make their money's worth. Let me get my money's worth out of the share. But I just want to let my audience know, I love you all. I know you all are not voting for this progressive crap. And I know a lot of you are sick as I am about it. You wouldn't be here on this network if you didn't, because that's what we are. This is what this network's been doing. Eric, for 7 years, we have been fighting this fight. Look, from the day I've met you, really before then, we had been on a year. And, man, I've had you on so many times. I mean, I've had you on, at least once a month, once every other month. And we've never changed. Our tone has never changed. The only time that I remember that, I got sick as a dog in 21, like to die. And, I was taken down, man. It was rough. Those few months doing this show was rough. But we have fought with everything in us for 7 years to keep the country with a sound mind and a sober mind and to not allow, and I want to go back to the media because I got to say something. I blame the media for a lot, but you know what I've come to realize?
Yeah.
It ain't the media's fault. I know people are saying, oh, what did it just say? You know whose fault it is? It's the fault of the idiots and the ignoramuses, and I shouldn't use that word. Let me rephrase that. It is the fault of the non-switched on great citizens of America that are listening to it and believing this crap when a fifth grader would understand what they're saying is false. But yet they still listen to it and believe it. Because many do, Eric. Many do. And I've got to the point now, yes, I lay a lot of it on the media, but the people listening to it don't have to believe it if they don't want to, and sadly many do. And that's an opinion. It's the McFiles tonight. It ain't the U-Files. It's the McFiles. Because it's just, you see what you do? You bring it out and mature, and I got this couple of... Am I right, though? Can we not? We can't just blame the media, Eric. We got to blame people that listen to this crap and believe it.
We got to do our homework, and we're not doing our homework. And, as an agent for the U.S. government, I had to do my homework. So just because I get information that... Chris McDonald is a bad guy, and he's involved in, smuggling alcohol.
Hey, wait a minute. Wait. We Tennesseans, moonshine is just an honest way to make a living for our families, and there's no truth to that rumor that I got to steal in the back of my yard. I just want to clear that rumor up. Okay. But even though moonshine is just a fair way to make a living in these hills, okay, I'll go ahead. I just go ahead. Keep going.
Trust me, I've gotten many phone calls and anonymous letters from people And, you know, okay, here's a letter that says X, Y, and Z about Chris McDonald. Well, okay, do I believe it, or do I vet it? And do I try to corroborate this information? And too many times Americans get their news from a single source, and they're not looking deeper. They're not peeling back the onion like a few layers to, should we be looking at another source? And so too many times I just watch, I watch CNN, I watch MSNBC. It's got to be true because it's on MSNBC. Or it's in the Washington Post. I can tell you firsthand, Chris, the Washington Post ran articles about my case that was wrong. I can tell you that the Boston Globe ran articles about my case that was wrong.
I know that. That's right. And a lot of papers did, Eric. A lot of, and I'll just go ahead and tell people, full disclosure, you basically got out of the government, but it almost cost you a lot more than just your job. I mean, this was a very dangerous place that you were in your life when you stood up to this tyranny and stood up to this government that is basically over all of us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tried to, I went after hundreds of illegal aliens, nearly 400. A owner of a defense contractor put him under arrest, and the politicians supported him and the illegal aliens. So I was standing by myself for the most part. And I say me, but the men and women of law enforcement that I represented, we felt pretty abandoned those weeks and years after that case. And, they threatened us, and they held hearings in Washington, the Department of Homeland Security. I had to be interviewed by the Office of Inspector General, and other congressional staffers wanted to know who, what, when, where, and how. And I'm like, wait a minute. We were just enforcing the law that Congress, that you folks asked us to enforce. Now they want to flip the table on us. So it was a lonely time in my life, to say the least, and to see how what was wrong was right and right was wrong. And here we are today. It's much, much worse. And I tried in 2007 to stop it, to stop open borders, to protect our citizens from the people that came into America illegally that were criminals to harm Americans. But unfortunately, we voted for progressive politicians who cared more about the next election.
That's right. And we've always done that, Eric. And look, I want to say it again tonight. I know this ain't a carte blanche statement. I know there are people in this country that vote right. And I'm not talking about the right-left thing. I'm talking about vote for righteous things, not things that are going to destroy our country. I get that. But there are too many people that are still, I don't know what you call it. I have no word for it no more. Again, I've come to realize, and this goes for a lot of things, people ultimately listen and do what they want to do, and they can blame the country on a lot of things. They can blame the condition. They can blame the voting situation, the economy. They can blame everything on everything and lay it at the foot of the media, and that's okay. But the media would not get its power, Eric. It wouldn't have any power if people were smart enough to read through their bullshit and understand what they're pushing on us smells like something very bad on a hot South Georgia sidewalk day. And you know something? At some point, we got to take a look at ourselves. And I think that's where I think that I get so frustrated sometimes. And it does. It frustrates me that we don't take any more responsibility. And that's really what your book is about. That we as American citizens, we need to stop looking at everybody else as to why this country's in the mess it's in. We need to take a look at ourselves. We've allowed it to happen. SwitchedOnLife.com, I saw a comment just now that some of this has happened to us to get a backbone. Well, some of us have always had a backbone. Some of us haven't. Some of us are getting a backbone. But I'm going to tell you something, Eric. I don't know how late we are in this game, buddy. And look, I want to just say this: there ain't no white horse coming to save us. There ain't no white horse stallion. And I love President Trump, but he ain't coming to save us. He's going to pull. I tell you what will happen. When he gets elected, the Lord willing, he will stop the downslide. He'll pause it. He'll slow it down, if nothing else. And I pray by 2028, the Republicans get their backsides together and don't go back to some feckless leader that's a wishy-washy, we're going to compromise and we're going to be half Democrat, half Republican. They need to stay on this path because it will take at least 12 years to fix this. 12 years at least minimum. That's my opinion.
Well,
but
Chris,
we've got to start somewhere, and Trump is the start to get back in office, but he cannot solve this. He's going to slow it down, but he can't solve it.
Well, we got problems domestically.
Yes, we do.
We got problems internationally. Joe Biden's going to give the next president of the United States a big plate of you-know-what, poop.
Oh, you better believe it.
And our country is in harm's way right now with international terrorism on the rise throughout the world, and terrorists here in America, and criminals here in America. And so I want to share something with you, Chris. I'm not going to name the person, but the article that I just shared with you is A Time to Outlaw the Democrat Party. And it's on my website, switchedonlife.com, under the Caron Chronicles. This is from a reader, and this goes to what has happened to us in the last few years, to me, to you, and many people, the cancel culture that we're living in. Quote, honestly, I struggle a bit that I am so mousy about my political beliefs. ... I keep my quiet as if I didn't. I would lose half my business. Thank God for people brave enough to speak their minds. I appreciate you, Eric.
Well said. And you sent me that today, and I appreciate you too, man. Hey, we're running out of time, and I want to give the audience a chance to chime in tonight a little bit with you. Before we get to the questions, let me ask you a question. By the way, folks, let me stop and say we've got my dear buddy Eric Caron, the one and only, the man with the most hair on the internet. Oh, I'm sorry, he don't have any hair, but he still tells me he's better looking than me. That's a debate. I'll see about that. But switchedonlife.com, this good buddy and a good friend, former federal agent. Listen, Iran, before we get to the questions, since I've seen you last, one of their leaders is a pile of smoke now, and we didn't do it, even though we got blamed for doing it. Israel, I was shocked. Do you realize what the Iranians claimed was the reason why he got killed in the helicopter crash? I was expecting this, Israel did this. They blamed the Americans not giving him that Trump. They blamed Trump for not giving him that $150 billion on the tarmac, for cutting off the funds that Biden finally gave him. That's how stupid these people are. And I shouldn't say that, I guess, but they're just stupid. But anyway, when you heard what happened to this leader, look, you know Iran better than probably anybody. Brad Johnson and you about even. Brad's more of a China guy. He knows more about China, but he's got a lot of Iran knowledge. You are the Iranian guy. When anything goes on over there, I think of you first. When you heard this guy getting killed and what's ahead, is things going to get any worse, better over there for us and our relations in the Middle East? Or is this just one of those conveyor belt things that they're the ones behind this one is evil, and if he dies, the next one behind him is evil, and the next one behind him is just as evil, if not more evil? Is this going to make any difference at all in United States and Iranian relations?
No, not at all. Chris, the Israelis just, I think, about 48 hours, maybe on Sunday, killed another Iranian.
They did? They did.
And the UN just released a report in the last 48 hours. Iran further increases the stockpile of uranium enriched to near weapons-grade levels. So Iran continues on this road of enriching uranium for nuclear weapons. And, you know, Israel will never allow that to happen. As soon as they are able to or suspect they're close and they're getting close, the Israelis will act.
I believe that.
And without a doubt.
All right.
They, right?
Go ahead.
Israel and the U.S., unfortunately. I mean, we've all seen the back and forth relating to Israel's fight against Hamas and Iran, and that how the U.S. is trying to intimidate the Israelis, or quiet them down.
I got a question for you, on the more serious question, very serious. How close are we to a Middle East global conflict with the change of events, or were we any? Let me rephrase that question. With the events of Iran, let's say he didn't get killed. Let's just say this guy kept on in. Are we any closer to war with him being gone now, or are we about the same threat? Or did this move the barometer closer to a global conflict? Because, Eric, I believe personally we are headed for something over there that's going to involve many nations. And I just think these warmongers here in this country, that's one of the reasons they're stoking the fires with Hamas and Hezbollah. I think the more that they attack Israel, the more that Iran threatens Israel, the more that the United States fails to do its due diligence to protect her from these enemies and stand up for her and be a force for good on the earth. All it's doing is fueling the fires for a global conflict that is going to draw both America and I'm not so sure not the entire world into this at some point. Now, I don't have no timetable on that, but you know this stuff. This is your ballpark. Tell me tonight, how close are we to something like that?
We're close, Chris. Listen, the Iranians only know strength. And so they are the 100-pound gorilla in the region. The Saudis, the UAE, Qatar, they're all deathly afraid of Iran. Like this. And so the Iranians are kind of playing a cat and mouse game with the world. And right now, the U.S., we're so weak.
So true, buddy.
We're so weak. Our State Department's weak. Our Department of Defense is weak. Our White House is weak. I mean, we see a president that, what will he do? And we don't know.
I don't know.
Who hits the fan and how he's going to react or not react. And so, yes, Iran is fueling the Hamas war with weapons, with troops. Iran is fueling the Yemen war that Barack Obama initiated. Barack Obama did nothing. We pulled everybody out of Yemen when Barack Obama... I was in Dubai for 3 years. So when Yemen was just kind of like lightly smoking, Barack Obama did very little, and it blew up, and we pulled everybody out. And now there's been a war in Yemen for the last 4 years. We did the same. Syria, we did the same thing.
Without a doubt, Eric. Yeah, look.
So Iran is, as you know, Chris, Iran is controlling most.
Oh, absolutely, they are.
Of most of the Middle East.
And let me ask you a quick question, real quick, before I forget it. I know we've kept our eye off Iraq, but are you concerned that Iraq is going to rise back up and be a problem? I'm concerned Iraq is not being attended to either, and there's forces in that country tonight, Eric, that I'm not so sure that Iraq and Iran, they were mortal enemies in the 80s, but I have a gut that they're going to become a union at some point, and both of them are going to form this caliphate in the Middle East. That's just a thought.
No. It's not just a thought. It's happening. I can tell you, Iran controls Iraq for the most part. Okay? They control Iraq for the most part. They control Syria. They control Yemen. They're in Lebanon. They're throughout Africa. So, yeah, Iran's the 100-pound gorilla, and we have Joe Biden who doesn't know what day it is. I mean, if you listen to the interview he gave to ABC News, I felt so bad for the guy. He could barely catch his breath.
I know.
David Muir. And he said, "Oh, I know Putin. I've known him for 40 years, and he could barely just."
I know.
He was talking. So the Iranians, Chris, just like you mentioned earlier about our foreign adversaries, every foreign adversary through their intelligence agencies watch Joe Biden every day, every minute of the day, and they do this.
Without a doubt, buddy. Without a doubt.
All day long. And so they know that Joe Biden is weak, and the Iranians are strategizing what we can do, how can we do it, because we know the U.S. is weak. There's no doubt. So leading up to November, God bless us, I'm hoping Trump gets in as well. The Iranians have a short amount of time to act.
Yeah. Folks, you're watching a very special live McFiles Thursday night, D-Day, 80-year anniversary today, and we thank you all for who joined us earlier today, and thank you for the kind comments. We got a lot of good response from that special today, but we got our dear friend Eric Caron tonight. Now, if you've got a question or a statement, I'm going to keep him here for about another 10 more minutes, and it ain't past your bedtime, is it? I ain't keeping you. I think you go to bed. I think you have cookies and milk around 8, and you're in bed by 8:30. So I'm keeping him up late tonight.
Can you still see me? Because my screen just went black.
No, I can still see you. Yeah, we can still see you. I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah, we can still see you. But anyway, the same thing about me. Somebody called me Bathtub Gin Chris tonight. Elaine Willard said they're going to start calling you Bathtub Gin Chris. That's a new nickname tonight. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Hey, listen, brother, I always love the questions, so bring them on.
Well, hopefully we'll get a few. I want to read a couple of statements I saw. Julia Carter said, people are indifferent, they're cold and neglect values, and the weakness invites defeat. That's very true. Dennis Floyd made a comment just now, and I want to pick up what he says too, and he's right. Trump will be limited on what he can do unless we also take both houses. We need to get rid of rhinos. I want to say something about that. I'm going to ask you a question. We have preached this for 7 years. The way you get rid of the rhinos is in the primary. We're past primaries now. There ain't no rhinos we can get rid of now. We're going to have to all hands on deck come November and vote Republican. And as independents, we're going to have to throw our weight behind these Republican candidates. We've got to keep control of that House, but we've also got to take the Senate. His point is valid, and my question to you off of his point is how confident are you that the House and the Senate go back Republican? If Trump wins. Let's just say that Trump wins. Will his coattails bring the House and the Senate back? Or in the nightmarish world that Joe Biden gets this thing, would it matter if the House and the Senate went Republican that they could hold back maybe some of the things he could do and not do unless he just started declaring executive orders and declared himself a king?
I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to say that, right down the ballot, everyone's going to be voting Republican. Trump at the head of the ticket. And I think it's possible we take back the Senate and the House.
I do too. Well, I think, again, that goes back down to voter turnout. I'm just concerned, Eric, look, I think the next 90 days are going to be very telling about this country. And I would not doubt, and I say this as just a heads up to our audience tonight, look, what they did in 2020, buddy, I ain't never seen nothing. What they did to this country through the riots. It started out this coconut jab and this virus, or whatever you want to call it. We're actually tonight, 4-year anniversary of when it was the spring of 2020 when it really began to be pushed on the country. But by the middle of the summer, not only was those restrictions being put on the populace, we had the riots in the street. We had warfare, not lawfare, but we had warfare in America in the summer of 2020. There's just something about the summertime and the heat. It brings out the crazies. And I'm telling you, man, I don't know what's ahead, but I would not be shocked if you don't see a repeat of very similar things in the coming months. And I just believe between now, especially July 11th, when he stands before that judge in New York, unless the Supreme Court steps in and stops this mess. And I hope they will, but I wouldn't put faith in it, but I'm hoping for the best.
Right.
But I think the country's there is going to be a reaction one way or the other. And I predict, if the Supreme Court does step in and stop it, you're going to have riots. You're going to have the left go nuts, and they will riot as compared to us when this didn't go our way the other day. I didn't hear one arrest being made of anybody on the right busting one window out. Not one person marching down D.C. throwing gasoline cans into windows and burning cars down and beating the hell out of old ladies and ripping people off. I didn't hear any of that, Eric, because we've got class on the right and the left has none.
Well, look at what's been happening the last, it's 6 months in our cities relating to Hamas. And our progressive politicians are allowing it. I mean, it's not as violent, but people are still getting hurt, and schools are closing, graduations have canceled in some instances. And, thank you, our progressive politicians, for letting these violent individuals interrupt our cities and states. You know, if you happen to be on the highway going to LAX a month ago, you weren't too happy, or you were crossing the bridge in San Francisco when you have Hamas protesters stopping your travel, stopping your freedom, and our progressive politicians don't do much about anything about that. And so
I'm with you. I got a good question for you coming out of Facebook tonight. Corey Aguilar, excellent question. She says, who would back up Iran, Russia or China? And she says, I think if Trump gets in, they will still move forward with their threats or actions. She's asking that as a question. Do you think Trump stops this at all? And I think her question about Iran is good. Who backs her play the more, Russia or China or both? It's a good question.
It's a good question. I believe both will. I think anybody, don't take my word for it, but the foreign military sales from both nations are high. China is providing UAVs to Russia. China is providing those to the Iranians as well. China and Russia have traded billions with a B, billions of dollars worth of defense articles. I know that for a fact. It's been well written, and I've been involved in operations involving the sale of those weapons from the U.S. Those were illegal sales, but showing the connection between Russia and China are very, very tight militarily. They are very close partnerships, and the Iranians are somewhat in the middle, if you will, and they're working together relating to trade, relating to military sales as well. So both countries overtly, covertly providing weapons to the Iranians.
Yeah, good question, and thank you for the response on that. I got a question for you personally, and folks, you got about 5 minutes now. If you ain't got a question, we're going to let Eric go. So start putting your questions in. It can be on the topic, America, government, whatever. What is your thoughts on this Russia-Ukraine thing? Look, I thought it was insulting today for Biden to bring that up at the D-Day event. I mean, I'm thinking of all the things.
Well, Hillary brought it up.
Hillary brought it up. She called Trump Hitler today. I mean, it was just a despicable display. But where does Eric Caron fall on this Russia-Ukraine thing? Look, I'm going to give you my 2-minute take on this, 1-minute take. Look, I don't trust Putin past this camera, okay? But I do not believe he's the boogeyman either that we've made him out to be. I think that there is some things about Putin that he's just trying to run his own country, Eric. He stays out of our business. And, you know, I know that there are things. I do not believe this would have happened under Trump. I think Trump would have made one phone call to him and said, Vladimir, if you do this, I'm going to sanction you into the freaking Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. And you ain't going to be able to have enough vodka in your cabinet to drink after I'm done with you. And I believe Trump would have got through to him. He would have respected Trump. He may not like Trump, but he respected him. But this Ukrainian president, Eric, is as corrupt as night as day. Why in the hell would he drive all the way over to France to honor our veterans when he's done nothing for America? The Ukrainian government has done zilch to help us. Zilch. They have threaded us and shredded us of billions of dollars. Billions. And extorted money from this government.
Yes.
And it was an insult. It was an insult to me today to watch our veterans being put through that on a day that this should have been about them. It turned into a Russia-Ukraine fundraiser. It pissed me off. But where do you stand in general on Russia-Ukraine? I don't trust Putin, but I don't think he's the bad guy in this fight. I believe Zelensky is the bad guy in this fight.
Yeah, I would, listen, just after the Olympics was over, everybody knew that Russia, Putin, was getting the troops ready on the border. Everybody.
Right.
Okay. Joe Biden in the White House, as far as I've seen and heard, did not pick up the phone and talk peace. In fact, Joe Biden hasn't talked to Vladimir Putin once, as far as I know. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And why are we hitting the war drum so?
I lost your audio, buddy. There we go.
Why are we hitting the war drum so hard with Russia?
$1 million question. $1 million question. Why?
And is it because of the military-industrial complex? Is it just a boogeyman that makes the Democrat Party that I think we should outlaw strong? It's just, something to make Biden look like presidential. Because you're absolutely right. Donald Trump would have been on the phone weeks, days before the right here where you're living. I see the troops. I have missiles ready to go. Let's meet in Switzerland tomorrow. I'm coming.
Yep.
I know because millions potentially of people could die because you have nuclear weapons. Let's get together and talk tomorrow. I'll be on the plane. I'll see you tomorrow in Switzerland at this location. Joe Biden didn't do that.
No, he didn't.
And here we are today, where what? I don't know. The estimates 55,000 Russians dead, 65 Ukrainians dead, 65,000. Who knows? I mean, we have over 100,000 people dead. And Joe Biden is doing what?
Nothing.
He's not holding any peace talks.
Nothing.
What?
No, he's holding war talks. Eric, he's threatening. And on your note, and I got a couple of comments and we'll wrap this up. Russia today basically said, Putin came out and made a statement today. He said, you know something? If they're going to keep funding Ukraine like they're doing, the people around the world, I'm going to start funding America's enemies with weapons that can hit American targets, and it won't be me, it'll be them. And I know that people say, well, Putin's horrible. He was pushed to this position. I'm not justifying what he's doing here. Again, it's not justification.
I get it.
What I'm saying, though, we have ourselves to blame for his attitude tonight because we have pushed him into this place. Now, I know that mainstream media out there, and even those on the right, they fully believe that Ukraine is the one threatening this. And Harriet Hunter just put a comment in there, and I'll read her comment, and he's absolutely right. He says, Ukraine president is he's left his people to go shopping. You know, he's betrayed his people. But he extorted the country. Quick couple of questions, and I got to let you go. Two things I want to ask your opinion about, and they're posting up in the YouTube. Steve Bannon has to report to jail July the 1st, travesty of justice. But also they stripped Donald Trump today. The NYPD is going to strip him of his gun right laws because of the conviction in that courtroom. How much of a crap and travesty of justice is that on both counts? Is that not crap or what?
Yeah.
That's just political, judicial turd.
Chris, I mean, all we got to say is like Department of Justice is now called Department of Injustice under the Democrat Party. That's why I think it should be outlawed. They've weaponized the Department of Justice in America. We are no different than the Department of Justice in Nigeria or Malawi or pick another third world country. It's sad. It really does sadden me. I spent 25 years working closely with the Department of Justice, working closely with assistant U.S. attorneys throughout this country. And many of them, I'm sure, are shaking their head because these types of cases would never have been brought ever.
Yeah. Go.
We're seeing it.
We're seeing it. One final question. It's an excellent question. We're going to wrap it up on this. Lane Willard, Facebook. The second China balloon that they didn't shoot down. There was two of them. Great question. Do you think, in your humble opinion, that they got enough intel through those balloons to attack the United States? It's an excellent question.
Yeah,
excellent
I mean,
question.
it's very possible, for sure. I mean, the question is, and I don't know the answer, how many days were they up and over what areas? And did they drop, God only knows, did those balloons drop any other devices, meaning listening devices, audio devices, onto U.S. territory? It wouldn't surprise me. So, yeah, it should be a concern to every American that our space, if you will, U.S. territory, was basically invaded by another country, and we were slow to react.
Yeah, we were very slow to react. Do you think that it's in China's best interest to attack us? Do you think that if they went head-to-head with us tonight, who would win that conflict?
Well, you know what? This is just my humble opinion, Chris. I don't think China wants a military war with the U.S.
Okay.
They are certainly at war with us today.
Technologically and financially they are, but go ahead.
Absolutely. They are kicking our butts in the area of technology and in the area of economic espionage.
Without a doubt.
And intellectual property right, stealing IPR technology. So, I mean, hats off to the Chinese in that they are kicking our butts when it comes to technology. We are certainly at, I hate to say a war, but we're certainly fighting with the Chinese relating to technology and economically. I don't think they want a war militarily because why? Because they rely. It's mutual destruction, if you will.
Do you think? Do you think that's the same reason Putin don't really? Do you think he's blustering? I mean, I know that. Look, I know it makes great headlines when these leaders come out and they talk tough.
Yeah.
But do you not think that Russia feels the same thing tonight? Because I get this sense from Putin that he looks. Let me just put myself in Vladimir Putin's shoes, which it's a scary thing to do. I don't think Putin had any intention to get into this piston match with America.
Right.
He had a regional issue with Zelensky that could have been solved if somebody with a brain in America could have come and brought the two parties together.
Hello.
They could have fixed this. Crimea, the same thing. I don't think he ever has done anything outwardly to provoke this American response. And it goes back to 2016, Eric. They accused him of stealing the election in 2016, and that was proven to be false. Right. That was proven to be false over and over. The Mueller report was proven to be debunked. Everything was false. And we have done nothing but poke him in the eye. And these people that are saying communism's bad, well, communism is bad, but corrupt Ukraine is worse.
Yeah.
I hate to tell folks, the Ukraine is folks, they're controlled by the same freaking kind of government. They're not a democracy in the Ukraine. Zelensky is running more of a fascist state than Putin ever dreamed of running. But my final question, I got to run. Got 1 minute. You got to answer this one quick. Hunter Biden, guilty or not guilty? We ain't talking about the Hunter Biden crime family and that laptop. We need to come back, have you on in a few weeks if you don't go out of town. Guilty or not guilty if Eric Caron's on the jury?
Well, well, I don't, listen, it's going to be close. You know why? Because it's in Delaware. All the jurors are all from Delaware. They all know the Bidens. It could come back not guilty. I'm going to lean towards not guilty.
Is that not a biggest travesty of justice to you, though? And they've had to admit, under oath, that laptop not only existed, but it had everything on there that the left claimed that we right folks were basically lying about. They've had to admit it in a courtroom. It's on the record. All right. Well, we'll see about that. I hope you're wrong, Caron, but I have to tell you, I probably have got the same sentiment that you got. Jesse Waters did a story last night about how that every one of them that they put on that jury is basically Hunter Biden Jr. I mean, they've got the same problems that he's got. They're going to be very sympathetic to him. Yep. I mean, it's a joke. But I'm telling you, man, this justice system, we got to get it fixed. Listen, man, I'm going to give you 1 minute final thoughts. Wrap us up. So good to have you tonight, man. This time always goes by too fast when you're here. We got to get you back on. Don't leave the country before I get you back on now. One more time before you leave.
Okay.
I would say something else about you leaving the country and coming back, but that'd be clown chowder talk over the table. But go ahead and wrap us up.
Well, I guess it's a special day. 80 years ago today, hundreds of thousands of men and women fighting for our freedoms on the beaches of Normandy, and we can't forget about that.
That's right, buddy.
And so, many of them did not come home, and the ones that did come home, many of them were scarred for life, physically and emotionally. So freedom isn't free, Chris, as it's been said before. So, I'm concerned that, again, the Democratic Party has trampled on all our constitutional rights, our First Amendments, our Second and Third and Fourth Amendments, and it can't happen. And that's why I think this November's election is so important, that we all get out and do exactly what you said, Chris, is vote. We can't sit on our hands and then complain about it a year from now. Look at our nation. In 2007, I enforced federal law relating to the hiring of illegal aliens. In 2007, nothing was done. I was demonized by the press and by the progressive politicians. And here we are in 2024, and it didn't have to be.
No, it did not.
And that's why we need strong leaders. So I thank you for having me on. I ask people who have bought my book, Switched On, The Heart and Mind of a Special Agent, if you're out there, if you would just do me a favor, go to Amazon and give me a little review. I appreciate it. It helps me. And those of you who are interested in the book, you can go to Amazon and purchase it there. The audiobook is there as well, Chris. And
next time when you revise, these books sometimes are revised, but the next time that you revise that audio version, you be sure to call me up, and I will give you the absolute best Southern version, Southern view of a Yankees switchedonlife.com book. I will give it that Southern style charm, man. And that book will sell 1 million copies. Just by my accent alone, man. Them Yankees will say, what the hell is Caron done? Who the hell is that? Saying y'all and go come down here to these hills. You know, who is he? So I'm just saying, if you just give me a chance, I'll sell you 1 million copies. I promise. But I'm just messing with you. Hey, but it's a great book. I want to tell everybody, it is a great book. Switchedonlife.com. And are you still giving the little flashlight away, or the stuff that if somebody orders it from you, or no?
No, right. I'm out of them, actually.
You're out of them. Okay.
Sorry.
I got mine here at the house. Mine broke. I was going to try to get you another one. Hey, buddy, listen, I got to run. I will see you in a few weeks. And listen, tell Bowl I want him to come on, and I want y'all maybe to come on a panel one night, because we need to talk to him about Africa. We didn't get to Africa tonight because there's a hotbed of stuff brewing in Africa that we need to be aware of. We'll get to that. Eric, Caron, thank you so much, buddy, and I appreciate you being with me, man. Be safe up there, and I'll see you soon. I will. We're coming that way, and I'll holler at you, okay?
Got it, brother. Thank you for having me, and stay switched on, folks.
Peace out, buddy. God bless Eric. Eric, Caron, everybody. I'll be in touch, buddy. Eric Caron, my friend, put some fire in that house for him tonight. What a good guy. He is definitely one of the good guys tonight, fighting for our nation. And my goodness. Good stuff tonight. And appreciate him. Julie Hensel, you're right. We've already lost our constitutional rights. J6 and more, I'll agree. Rosemary, your question, will President Trump lose his legally owned guns? Yep. He'll be able to have them returned if all charges are dropped. I would think that he would. Rosemary, he'll have his rights restored, everything to be restored. If that case is dropped or found to be unconstitutional, everything will be reset. So, yeah, it's fine. But right now, you ask about his guns, they're gonna try to get his guns. And that's just another slap in his face by the New York PD. SwitchedOnLife.com. Good to see everybody tonight in the house. Goodness. Good stuff tonight from my old buddy, Eric Caron. And I saw a few comments from Dennis and Roger about the constitutional. And I think they're in agreement with Eric that Biden's boy, Hunter, ain't going to get convicted. And I wouldn't be putting no money on that trial. That trial is a joke. I will say this, and I'm going to be on here tomorrow night. Probably just be me tomorrow night. Now, Glennie's going to come on, Lord willing. They're won't tear her phone service down tomorrow. She's really sad she didn't get on tonight, but she's going to be with me tomorrow night briefly to talk about the D-Day today in Normandy. But I want to deal with Steve Bannon tomorrow night. It is very frustrating to me that he has done nothing more than justify a subpoena at Congress. Merrick Garland's done it, no arrest. Hunter Biden's done it, no arrest. Eric Holder did it, no arrest. My statement tonight is to the Republicans. Where in the hell are you enforcing the laws against the Dems when they can throw people on the right in jail for defying the same subpoena that the left has always defied and they said a blank you to and nothing happens to them? We're going to talk about that tomorrow night. And we've got some great guests coming. We're going to have Judge Sherilyn Allen on next week. We've got Lori Mills. You're going to get introduced to a brand new guest. She's from California, and I'm excited to have her Thursday night around 9 Eastern, 8 Eastern actually. We got to go early because she's on West Coast time. So next Thursday. And Lori Pevick, we still got that interview we haven't played. Vijaya may be with us Wednesday night for our Faith Chat on Wednesday. And James R. will be back here with us next week. We may have old Jason Miller hanging out with us. My goodness, going to have the kids with these guests. And some old dude named Chris McDonald. Bathtub Gin Chris. Bathtub Gin Chris. Lord help us. That's all I got to say. Lord help us. But he'll be here too. I think that's the host. Yeah, that's the host. And he'll be with us too. Anyway, thank you all for being with us tonight. Put some fire in that house. It's good to see all of you. Our prayers tonight for our nation tonight. And I want to say this again tonight. I really mean this. Thank you to the veterans and the families of those that lost their life in the war, World War II. Normandy was the day that changed the 20th century. I told you that this afternoon. And these veterans deserve a lot more respect than they're getting tonight. They really do. They deserve better than this that they got today. And look, I just call it like I see it on this program, folks. And I actually give a nod of the cap to Emmanuel Macron tonight because he honored those veterans better and with more respect than our own president did. And that's disgusting. And I'm no fan of Macron, but he did right by the nation tonight. He did right by those men, and I respect him, and I do appreciate him for doing that. I really do. I wish I could say the same about the something in chief that we got, and I can't. And I'm trying hard to pray for him. I am. It's hard sometimes. It's hard sometimes to pray for him. And I don't think there's a soul out there that would not disagree with that. But we got to. We just got to pray for him. We got to pray for his family. We got to pray for his son. And folks, I'm praying. Look, if God don't have a Damascus Road experience with him soon, I don't know what's going to happen. And look, there's just some dark forces around him, and there's dark forces behind him, and there's dark forces around the whole government tonight. And all I can pray is, Lord, let their schemes be made null. Don't bring their schemes to pass. Don't let their schemes be brought to pass. But I got to pray for the soul. And that's the Christian right thing to do. I'm frustrated with what I saw today. I'm frustrated by what I've seen. I'm frustrated by what Christians are out there claiming that we shouldn't go vote and throwing shade at Trump and trying to make it out some Masonic tie and Illuminati tie and everything that Trump wears. If he wears a red tie or a blue tie or a yellow tie, if Chris has his hat turned a certain way like that, he's Illuminati. If we had somebody this morning look at the Star of David over here behind me, claim it was a symbol of witchcraft. And folks, this is the kind of stuff that's going to get this nation sent to hell in a handbasket. It's not coming. A lot of it is coming from the left, but not all of it. Some of it's coming from people that you would think would have a spiritual brain and a normal brain in their body that would know better than to say stuff and put stuff out there like that. You need to vote. And yes, you need to vote for President Donald John Trump and not blink an eye doing it. And stop listening to the spiritually incompetent that are just trying to make a name for themselves and try to make a little brownie point or two with their buddies, and do the right thing by your country, do the right thing by your conscience, and do the right thing scripturally and biblically, and do the right thing for your families and your grandchildren and your future, and go vote and stay the course and keep the faith on this D-Day, 80th anniversary. I will see you back here tomorrow night. Now, you faith students, Bible students, I'll see you in the morning right here on the McFiles Faith Network. We got a new sign in today. They gave me the wrong color, but that's all right. And we'll interchange that out with the news network. But anyway, I'm grateful you've been with me tonight. Didn't Eric do a good job as he always does? And I hope that you had a good night. I will see you in the morning and then back here tomorrow night. Probably around 9 o'clock, same time, 8 or 9 tomorrow night, depending on Glennie's schedule. Now, we may have to do a separate show. We may have to do her by phone for a few minutes and then come up back on. But we will have sort of a summary, this and that, and I'll take your questions tomorrow night, okay? MacFilesForum@gmail.com, themcfiles.org. Thank you for those that donate to the network. We deeply appreciate your donations, folks. PayPal.me/themcfiles. We could sure use a few extra shekels this week and next. And we thank you for being faithful listeners, faithful supporters all the way around. And we love you. We appreciate you. Have a good night, everybody. Put some fire in that house. And again, our great salute and our great honor goes to our veterans of the Normandy invasion 80 years ago tonight, June the 6th, 1944. Be blessed out there. Good night, everybody.